Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you all on this training of Express GST. Express GST, as you all know, that it is a complete software application for your GST filing and reconciliation. So today we have our host with us, Saloni Jain. She is going to take you through the complete training and how to use Express GST for your GST filing, for your clients' GST filing and reconciliation. She'll also talk about different things within Express GST, like how to create your client master, how to send emails to your clients for your reconciliation work. And she'll also talk about how to do 1 and 3B filing while using Express GST. So over to you, Saloni, and I think without taking, we can start about Express GST.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saloni Jain, and as already ma'am mentioned, I'm going to be the host for today's training webinar. Express GST is basically a cloud-based solution that helps you save 7x times in compared to other softwares. Here, you would be able to do reconciliation of your GSTR 2A 2B data with the books data. In addition to that, you also have the ability to file your GSTR 1, 3B, 9, 9C returns, and a lot of other features that we are going to talk about in today's training session. So without taking too much of your time, let's get right to the demo and see how the software works and what are the functionalities that the software has to offer. So to begin with, what you have to do is you have to go to expressgst.com and you would be redirected to this screen. Here, if you do not have an account, what you have to do is you have to click on Try Now. And there is some basic information that you would have to enter, which would include your full name, your organization name, your mobile number, email address, password, and if you're a professional or a business. Profession includes CAs, accountants, tax practitioners, the audience that we have today. Business is basically for corporates. So you enter all of these details and you click on sign up. And as soon as you sign up, you would receive an OTP on the mobile number that you had provided here. You enter the OTP and you're into the website wherein you can go ahead and start using Express GST. So for today's demo, I already have an account created with me. I'm going to go ahead and use that, and then we'll see how the flow works. So I click on sign in, and here the registered mobile number and the password that you had set while creating your account. Enter those and click on login. As soon as you click on login, you would be redirected to client master screen. Here, all the companies or all the clients that you've created so far would be visible in a listed down format. Now, the first thing as soon as you sign up would be to go ahead and create your company. Now, the creating company process, if you talk about an Express GST, is a pretty simple process. It's a one-step process where all you have to do is you have to enter your GSTIN username, password, and the CAPTCHA, and all the details, including the historical data, would be fetched automatically. So be it the profile details, be it the filing details, be it the reconciliation details, everything gets automatically fetched. All your data comes in a very seamless manner, and you would be able to view your complete historical data in no time. So to create your company, you have to click on the plus icon available at the top. And here you have to enter your GSTN username and password. So I am going to go ahead and enter that. Enter the CAPTCHA. And click on save. As soon as you click on save, if you see the company is created, you can simply review your details that are applicable for this particular company and click on save, and this company finally gets created. As soon as I click on save, this company, if you see here, is created. Now, as soon as you've created a company, the next step that comes into picture is where you have to view your GSTIN details, or you have to view your relevant data for a particular GSTIN that you had created. So for that, you have to click on the particular company and you would be able to see an insights view, something like this, which gives you a complete curated information, a complete unique set of curated information for your GSTIN that you can go ahead and review here. Here we have got 8 tabs that show you different types of details for your GSTIN. The first tab, if you talk about, gives you a basic detail of your GSTIN, when was it registered, what is the GSTIN, what's the status, what's the turnover, what is the core business of your activities. If you talk about the second tab, it gives you an information of your proprietor, director details, authorized signatory, and GST practitioner details, along with the mobile number and email address. Place of business details, which talks about the address, mobile number, and email address. Then we have got monthly, quarterly, last 6 months filing summary. And in case of annual, we've got the last 2 years annual return filing summary. Then there is electronic cash and credit ledger balances, which gives you the electronic cash and credit ledger balances as on today. The next tab is where you can view all the GSTINs that have been registered under the same PAN in a listed format. Then there is the authentication details, which includes the Aadhaar and eKYC. And finally, there is the GST, the goods and services HSNs that you're using for this particular company. So all the details that are available here, you review those. And finally, you click on Go to Dashboard and you would be redirected to the GSTIN dashboard. Now here, the GSTIN dashboard basically gives you a high level idea of how this particular client or the company is performing. When we say how this is performing, there are different sets of data that you can see, like your sales versus purchase, your net tax liability, your return summary. Everything that gets included here gives you a high level view of how the company is performing. This screen particularly is divided into 7 sections. The first and the foremost one being return summary. Now, a return summary gives you a clear and crisp view of your returns per tax period. So, for each tax period, you would return, you would be able to see if the return is filed or not, if it is due, if it is overdue, or if it is something that the tax period has started but the return has not started. So such type of information you would be able to see in the return summary. Here GSTR 1, 3B, 9 and 9C rows are shown, for which you would be able to see the statuses accordingly. If you are an IFF filer, in that case, or if you belong to the QRMP scheme as a quarterly taxpayer, then in that case, relevant information will be reflected here. Now, if you talk about the statuses, there are 4 types of statuses that would be available for you to view. The first and the foremost one, which is the simplest, is filed. Filed returns are those returns that you've already filed. And if you hover on a particular status, you would be able to see when was that particular return filed for that particular tax period and what was the ARN number. The second status that you are able to see here is due. Due are those returns that you've not yet filed. And it also indicates that when is this return due. So basically, these are returns that you've not filed, but the last filing due date has not passed. The third status that is not available here is overdue. These are returns that you have not yet filed and have also surpassed their last filing due date. So that is the third status. Now, the fourth status is prepare. Prepare is essentially those returns or those tax periods for which the calendar month has started, but that particular return filing on portal has not yet started. So you can go ahead and you can prepare your data. And once the filing is available on portal, you can go ahead and file those. So that is prepare. So essentially, these are the 4 types of statuses that you would be able to see here. The second section here is reconciliation, which talks about GSTR 2A, 2B reconciliation with your book state. Here we support multi-month, multi-quarter and annual reconciliations, which we would see in the flow once we go through the demo. The third section and the fourth section here is sales versus purchase. Both these sections are dedicated to sales versus purchase. The first one talks about your sales versus purchase. Now, the idea of having this particular thing in place is that you would be able to see if there are cases where the purchase is too much whereas the sales is nothing. So in that case, if there is any anomalies in the data, meaning that there is a big difference between your sales and your purchase data, then that's something that you should be worried about, and that's something that you should take care of in the upcoming months of that particular financial year. Now, the fourth section here is net tax liability, which talks about input minus output tax. This is basically your net tax liability for that specific month. The fifth section here is cash and credit ledger balances. Here, you would be able to see your cash and credit ledger balances as on the last synced on date. And if you want to view a detailed cash or credit ledger balances, then you have to click on the view icon. And here you would be able to see the balances view, wherein you would be able to see a complete balances view of your major and minor tax hits. And if you want to see your data transaction wise, then that also you can do by clicking on the transactions tab and viewing your data here. Now, one very beautiful feature here is that if you want to filter your data starting from 2017, which is when if your company was registered, then you would be able to do so by clicking on the calendar icon and selecting your relevant date that you want to select. So let's say if I want to, then I would be able to do so by clicking on the particular filter icon. So that's how you can filter out your data also. Then there is credit ledger balances again, however, and whatever data you want to filter, that you would be able to do from here. And again, the complete transactions view is available here. The sixth section here is net tax liability and ITC for 5 months. Here, this section talks about if there is any probable liability that is applicable that you had mentioned in your 1 and 2A, but you did not file or you did not pay the tax in your GSTR 3B return. So any tax or any liability that falls under that would be shown in the third row. If you talk about the sixth row talks about if you have any excess ITC claimed. Now, if you talk about this particular section, this will be your ITC that you had claimed in 3B, and in comparison to your ITC that you had that was reflected in GSTR 2B. So if you've claimed any excess ITC in 3B that was not reflected in 2B, you would be able to view that here. If you want to view a detailed out view, then that is also available in this by clicking on the arrow icon. If you want to import your books data, then that functionality is available at the left side. Clicking on this particular drawer would enable you to import your sales and your purchase data. Here, if you talk about the sales data or the purchase data, the government prescribed template that the government provides for GSTR 1 and 2 both, that is supported here. So whatever accounting solution you use, be it Tally, be it Busy, Mark, or any other software, you can simply export that particular return data in the government format and import it here, and you would be simply able to import your data in your GSTR 1's particular month or purchases particular month, and you would be able to view your data. If you talk about purchases, then you would be able to see the reconciliation. And if you talk about the sales, then you would be able to see that particular data imported in your GSTR 1 return that you can file later on. So, yeah. Now, this was essentially it about GSTIN dashboard. Also, if you want to change the financial year and view your historical data, you can go ahead and do that by simply clicking on the particular financial year from the top, and selecting that particular financial year will take you to that financial year, and you would be able to see your relevant data. If there are any notifications, then that would be available in the top. From here, right now, there are no notifications available. So, but if there are any, then those would be reflected here. So, with that, let's start with GSTR 1 filing and how the filing works for this particular flow. So, when I click on the particular tax period, I would be redirected to that particular returns flow. In this case, GSTR 1. If I want to change the particular particular month, I can do that by simply clicking on the month or the financial year. And by changing the financial year and month, I would be redirected to that particular month. Now, here, the first and the foremost thing that you have to do is start by importing your data. So, I have already got a test data available with me, which looks something like that. This has got almost 400 invoices, which I'm going to go ahead, which I'm going to use while importing the data. And then we will see how the save functionality works for GSTR1 filing. And then we will see the other reports also that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the import books data, which is available on the left side, and start by importing the data. Now to import the data, click on the browse icon and select the data that you want to upload. Click on this and click on import. And if you see, the import process has started, and you would be able to see a count of all the invoices or all the records that were available in Excel and how much of it got imported. This says that there were 356 invoices, of which all of them got imported. There were 2 credit debit notes, 2 doc summaries, and 1 HSN. If you want to re-import your data, that also can be done using the re-import option. If you click on OK, you would be redirected to the summary screen, where you would be able to see a complete summary of your GSTR data that you had uploaded. So click on OK. And this is that screen that would be available once you have uploaded your data. Now, any and every data that you uploaded, or any and every record that you uploaded in the books section, will be bifurcated. It can be divided into 4 sections. Each of them is placed into a bucket of 4 statuses. The first and the foremost status being ready for upload. These are invoices or records that are ready for upload, and there would be no error if you upload these invoices on portal. I mean, these are good to go, and there is no data discrepancy also. The second status or the second bucket here is warnings. These are invoices or records that are actually, they're okay if you upload those invoices on portal. They would be successfully uploaded. But if you talk about the data, right, there is some discrepancy in the data. Like invoice value is a mismatch between taxable value and tax, or something like that. So these are warnings. The third status here is error. These are invoices that have some one or more error in them. And if you go ahead and upload these invoices on portal, then you would get some or the other error. And so these invoices are something that would not be, when we save the data, these would not be taken up to the portal because they already contain an error. The fourth status that is not reflected here is uploaded on portal. These are essentially invoices that are already uploaded on portal. So once we upload the data on portal, we would be able to see that and how that flow works. Now, if you talk about the summary, the GSTR1 summary, this particular screen gives you a unique summarized format of each section. So if you talk about GSTR, if you talk about B2B section, we've got a section-wise summary, and then there is a party-wise summary, which gives you a complete information of the party-wise data, as well as the section-wise data. In terms of the number of docs, in terms of taxable value, tax, and invoice value. If you talk about the credit note, there is registered debit notes that is available here that you would be able to see. Then there is a section dedicated for HSN summary also, and a section dedicated for doc price summary. Now, if you want to go to a particular section, then you have to simply click on the particular section and you would be redirected to its detailed out view. If you want to filter out particular invoices or records that are in ready for upload status, or for that matter, any other status, click on the particular status and you would be redirected to that section's that status. If you want to delete your books data, click on delete and the data would be deleted. If you want to view just the summarized and the grand totals of each section, click on the arrow and this gives you a summarized view. If you don't want to do any of these, then there is an option where you can view and edit your data. Click on that button and you would be redirected to the first section that has got some data available in it. So that is what I'm going to do right now. Now I am redirected to B2B section here. If you see, there are some invoices that are ready for upload. There are some invoices that are errored. The red highlights shows that this is a particular invoice that has got an error, and this particular field has got an error. So if you hover on a particular field that has a red background, you would be able to see the particular error. Yellows indicate that there is a warning. So if you hover on a particular field that has got a yellow background, you would be able to see the relevant error. If you want to filter out your data, you can do that. If you want to filter out statuses, then that can be done by simply clicking on the filter. If you want to filter out the errors, you can do that. If you want to filter relevant data, then we've got some Excel like sorting and filtering functionalities also that you can go ahead and use and see your relevant data. There are counts at the top that are for the filtered out data that you have filtered. Then in addition to that, we also support keyboard friendly operations. There are some hotkeys that we support here, like Alt plus Enter, that would help you enter an invoice. So a new row would be added at the top, just like how it happened right now. So Alt plus Enter provides you that ability. Then there is Shift plus Enter that allows you to enter a particular sub row in a particular invoice. So Shift plus Enter. Then we also support Tab and Shift Tab functionality, wherein you can go to the next tab, or if you want to shift tabs, go to the previous one, then you can do that also. Now, if you want to delete invoices all at once, simply click on the select all option and delete. If you want to delete a particular invoice, then that can also be done by clicking on the delete icon at the right. So yeah, we've got an intelligent navigation mechanism also, where there is an option for go to next section or go to previous section. If you click on go to CDNR, which is the next section in which the data is available, you would be redirected to CDNR. If you want to jump to a section that does not has a data and you still want to enter data in it, then click on that particular section and you would be redirected there. Now, once you have reviewed your complete data, the next step here is where you have to go ahead and review your final data and simply save it. So go to save data on portal tab. And here there is an upload summary that you would be able to see. It talks about the records that are already uploaded on portal, what is the count for each section, and then the new records that we are going to add, if there are any errors in those new records, and if they're ready for upload. Now, once you have reviewed all of that, click on upload on portal, and you would be asked a message, and simply click on save. You would be asked to enter CAPTCHA, which I'm going to do now, and click on proceed. As soon as you proceed, now the process of upload has started. This will take 2 to 3 minutes. So we will come to that, once the upload is completed. And once the upload is completed, the notification section would indicate that, what is the status of the invoices and what is the status of if there are any errors, if it was successful, and stuff like that. So that would be indicated in the notifications tab. Now, if you want to download the JSON, you can do that also by clicking on download JSON. If you want to email the PDF to yourself, then that can also be done by simply clicking on the email PDF. You would be asked to enter the email address. You can go ahead and enter that and click on send. Once you click on send, you would receive an email, which here you would be able to see the return details, and there would be a PDF available, which would look something like this, which would give you a summarized view of your data. Once you do that, you would be able to view the complete relevant data. In addition to that, there is also an option where you can view your previous to current month comparisons of GSTR1 data, which is a section wise. We will come back to this once the data is uploaded, and then we will see how the upload works. Till then, we are going to go ahead and see how the GSTR 3B filing works. So for that, I'm going to click on the due option for GSTR 3B. And when I click on due, I would be redirected to the GSTR 3B module. Here, you can simply enter your data by using the shift tab functionality. If the data is auto populated, if the data is available for GSTR1 and GSTR2B for that particular month, then that would also get populated here. Since for March, the data is not yet available for 1 and 2B both. So there is nothing that is getting reflected. If you want to view historical data, then that can also be done by clicking on a particular month for whichever month you want to view your historical data. And here you would be able to see the complete filed data here. Now, once you have entered your relevant data, the for inward and outward supplies, the next step here is where you want to view your eligible ITC. So go to the second step of view your eligible ITC, and here you would be able to again enter your GSTR 3B data for ITC, which would again be auto-populated from GSTR 2B. But since right now GSTR 2B is not yet generated for March, that data is not available yet. So you enter the data by using tab or shift tab functionality. If you want to compare your entered data, let's say this amount, and you want to compare it with your GSTR 2B data, then simply click on view data by 2B, and here you would be able to see a section wise comparison of, if you talk about import of goods and IMPG and IMPG SEZ, what is the total and what is the IGST total. So you can simply compare such totals here. If you talk about inward supplies also, then for registered, the data gets populated from GSTR 2B. So you can simply compare those. Now, if you want to check if what data should be entered in a particular section, then you can simply click on the number, and here you would be able to see that what relevant details should be populated here. The next table or the next report here is in GSTR 3B is maximum permissible ITC. Now, this table talks about the ITC computation that is applicable for this particular GSTIN. Here you would be able to see what is your ITC as per 2B, what is your cumulative ITC as per 2B, what is the ITC that you have claimed in GSTR 3B, what is the ITC, cumulative ITC that you have claimed in GSTR 3B, and what is your maximum permissible ITC. Now, when we talk about maximum permissible ITC, there is data that is populated here from GSTR 2B, and then there is data that is populated from your GSTR 3B. That is not, this is basically that data that is not available from GSTR 2B. Now you compare all of this, and there is a calculation that gets involved, which would conclude to a maximum permissible ITC for the current month. And if you have got any excess or short ITC till previous month, then that would get reflected here. And based on these, there is a calculation involved wherein you would be able to see a maximum permissible ITC for the selected financial year till date. Now, once you have reviewed that, there is also a table for ITC comparison, which gives a complete comparison of your 3B versus 2B data, books versus 3B data, 3B versus 2A data, 2A versus 2B data. So here you would be able to see a high level comparison of your taxes for each of the months, and you would be able to see your relevant data here that gets changed. Once you have reviewed your 3B, once you've reviewed your eligible ITC, the next step here is where you will be reviewing your entered data and saving it. So upload summary gives you a high level idea of what data you have entered and what is the current to previous month comparison of GSTR 3B. If you want to view annual consolidated 3B, then that option is also available in Express GST. Click on this button, and here you would be able to see a consolidated view of your GSTR 3B in an annual format and in multi-month format. Now, multi-month format gives you the complete details of your particular GSTR 3B for each month. So that is in multi-month. Here you would also be able to see if there is any interest or late fees, what was the RCM tax paid, what was the other than RCM tax paid, and things like that would be reflected here. So when you have reviewed all that data, The next step here is where you set off your liability. So offset liability is the fourth step that comes into picture. The software optimizes the offset for you by filling out the values, and then of course you also have an option to change those offset values if you want to. That can be done easily by simply clicking on the number and editing it. Interest and late fees also get reflected here. If you've got any unclaimed TDS and TCS credits, then you would be able to see it here, because essentially what happens is there are times when we do not realize and we've got some unclaimed TDS and TCS credits that can actually be moved to the cash ledger, and which would essentially help improving our cash flow. So if there is any relevant data available here, then you can view that and claim your eligible. Then you can claim your TDS and TCS credit so that that amount gets transferred to your cash ledger. If you want to view credit and cash ledger balances, then that can also be done by simply clicking on the button and then viewing out the details. Once you've done that, the next step here is where you can file your GSTR 3D. You can save and you can submit your offset right away from here in less than seconds. Another thing here is you can email the PDF to yourself or to your client once you've filed, or even before filing if you want to get your data reviewed. So you would receive an email in the similar format how we had received it in GSTR 1, and that would contain an PDF that would show you this type of data in a well formatted manner. So you would be able to see this particular summary, and you can share it with your clients. You can directly share it with your clients if you wish to. If you click on email PDF, you would have an option to enter your email address and simply click on send, and you would be receiving an email, and your client would be receiving an email. That essentially covers with GSTR 3B. Now, if you talk about the GSTR 1, now here if you see at the top, there is a small dot that indicates that there is some notification available in the notifications. Click on that, and you would be able to see a notification that there was an upload that happened, and you click on it and you would be able to see. So yeah, if you see here, when I click on the particular notification, you would be redirected to this particular screen where you would. So if you talk about the notifications, clicking on the bell icon, you would be able to see a notification. Once that when you click on the notification, you would be redirected to this particular screen that would show you the upload summary. It talks about the records that are already uploaded on portal, which is 337, which got uploaded in our case. New records, whatever is in error is appearing here. There are 19 records that are in error, so we will probably have to go ahead and fix those. If you talk about the right side here, you would be able to see what was the status of your last upload, when was it uploaded, and what was the status. And then if you see at the bottom, there is a message that says invalid GSTIN. Click on one of the tables below to view details. So basically, when you click on a particular table, you would be able to see what were the invalid GSTINs that you have to fix. So there are two cases here, B2B and CDNR, B2B and CDNR. So both these tables indicate their relevant data. You click on the particular table, and here you would be able to see all the GSTINs that were invalid or inactive, or whatever was that status. In this case, the first one says that this was cancelled on application of the taxpayer. So what you can do is you can click on edit of whichever GSTIN you want to edit. Let's say this one. There are two total invoices in this that you can view. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the GSTIN for one of these and see how the flow works. Enter, and this GSTIN got updated. Now we will go ahead and see what these GSTIN updates were. I click on done, and if we go to the GSTR1 summary, these were the two invoices These were the two invoices that I had updated, and if you see, these are in ready to upload status. So you can simply go ahead and change those GSTINs wherever applicable and view the updated GSTIN would get reflected here. Now there was another case where this particular invoice was had GSTINs that were inactive. If you want to delete these records, then what you have to do is simply click on the select option and click on delete, and all these 4 records that have this GSTIN would get deleted in B2B section. So I click on delete, and if we see here, the records that got deleted would be reflected. So there were 4 invoices that got deleted from this particular section. Now, if you talk about the second table, which is the CDNR and B2BA and CDNRA table, again, click on this particular table, and here you would be able to see which GSTIN was inactive or which was cancelled. If you want to move those to a particular period or to the next period, then all you have to do is simply click on this particular party name and click on move to next period. This will move these invoices to the next period. Now, if we go to the next period here, which is April 20 to 23, here you would be able to see that particular invoice getting reflected in CDNR section. And if you see the message also, the message says that this GSTIN is inactive. So this is how you would be able to view your saved data and view the relevant errors that got generated. So here, if you see, since we have fixed all those inactive errors, those 2 cards that were appearing here have disappeared now, and you can now go ahead and upload the relevant remaining invoices that you've fixed and upload on portal by simply clicking on the button and uploading those invoices. So that was on save, how we can save the data in GSTR1. Now moving on to the annual returns, the first and the foremost annual return here is 9. Click on the due option, and here you would be redirected to the particular return that you want to file. Since right now 2021 filing is something that people are doing, so I'm going to go ahead and change the financial year to that and move to that particular financial year. Now here, data from your GSTR 1, 3B and 2A gets auto-populated. You can simply expand the particular row and view what is the data as per GSTN or what is the data as per R1, 2B or 3B. Clicking on the view icon would give you the reports of your relevant GSTR1 or whichever return it is in comparison to your books data. Now, to begin with, the first step here is where you have to go ahead and import your data, import your annual computation that you had exported from Tele or Marg or Busy or whichever accounting software you're using. You have to go ahead and upload that. Now, for that, you have to click on the Upload Books Data option, and here you have to browse that particular return. Now, if you talk about Tele, which is one of the most common accounting softwares, this is how the data looks like. This is how the extracted data looks like of annual GST computation. So I am going to go ahead and use this data and import the return. So this open, I selected the particular file and clicked on import. As soon as I click on import, I would be redirected to the previous screen, which is the step 1. And here I can see that, what are the differences. So there is a clear and crisp comparison of your books data versus your GSTN data. So here, if you see, GSTN says 0 versus books says that this is the amount that is available as per your books. If you talk about B2B also, there is a clear comparison of that. Now, if you want to view a detailed out comparison, then you have to click on the eye icon that is available next to the section data, and you can view, what is the comparison. It says B2CL has 0 data, B2CS has 0 data as per GSTR1, and your book says this. If you want to compare your B2B data then you can compare that also. Here, this shows a month-wise view of GSTR1 data. Um, Number of records, taxable value, and taxes. This is the month-wise view. Then there is a rate-wise view that again you can see if there are any differences, then that gets reflected here. It says there is a difference of 2,93,000 here in taxable value that gets reflected here. Um, these dialog boxes that you see, these can be expanded and collapsed as per your convenience, so that you understand that you have to review your data while filing your GSTR 9, so that there are lots of data that you have to compare in a one by one format, or side by side format. So in that case, what you can do is you can open up multiple tabs, and if you want to minimize those, then you can minimize those, and move to the next section and review that data. So that functionality is also of reports that are available here, that give you a high level idea of a particular section, and the data that you've uploaded. If you want to change, or if you want to switch to, if you want to use your books data, then you can simply click on the books option, and that data would appear at the top. If you want to use your GSTN data, then click on the GSTN data, and that particular data would be reflected at the top. You can use this button functionality also to change between books and GSTN data. And if you want to, if both these values are not correct for you, then you can simply change the value and hit tab, and then you would be able to see that this is a manual edit. Now, once you've reviewed your complete sales data, the next step here is ITC, where again you can review your data as per books, and if it is as per GST, then GST, then that. Table 7 and 8 details again. If that data is available from books, then that would be reflected here. Whatever data gets populated from portal, then that also would be available here. Each section again has some relevant information available for it, so that you have an idea of what this particular section comprises and what would be the total that you have to enter here. Then the third step here is tax paid. Whatever is the tax paid that is applicable. If you want to restore your data, then that option is also available. Details of financial year in next financial year. So again, the amendments and the new additions gets included here. In case of reversals also, you would have to enter your data in table 12 and 13. If there is any differential tax as per table 10 and 11, then that gets reflected in the table below. Then there is others, where you have to enter your HSN by summary for outward, and where you can view your annual GSTR 9 by clicking on this particular button. Once you have entered all the data, click on the step 6, and you would be able to review your data here. Whatever you have entered would get reflected in these particular summaries that is available in the review section. If you want to download the JSON, you can download the JSON here, or you can simply save your GSTR 9 data from here by simply clicking on the button of Save on Portal, and this would upload your data or save your data on portal in seconds. So this is how the GSTR 9 filing works. Now the next return here is 9C. So clicking on the option in 9C would redirect you to the 9C filing flow. Here you would be able to view complete details of your 9C. If you want to view a particular section's detail, then that is also available here. If you want to enter the reasons of the unreconciled data, then that is available here. If there is an unreconciled amount available, then that gets reflected here in a yellow background format. Table 7 talks about taxable turnover reconciliation that you can view and enter here. And reasons, if you want to enter here, you can enter that. And if you hit enter, then you would be able to enter the second reason, and so on and so forth. The second step here is rate wise liabilities, that also you have to enter here, and you can enter the reasons again. Table 11 also talks about a similar reconciliation. 12 and 13 data point part 5, which talks about the auditor's recommendation. And finally, in step 5, you go ahead and you review your data. If there are any remarks, then you would be able to see that also using this I option. If you want to download the JSON, you can download it from here, or else you can simply go ahead to step 6 and save your data on portal from here itself. Once you have done that, the process of 9C would complete. Now, once you have, now this covers everything related to the returns. The next part here is reconciliations, which is the last module. For reconciliations, what you have to do is click on View Annual Reconciliation. As soon as you click on View Annual Reconciliation, here we have got an option where you can import your books data using this option. Now, if you want to delete an already existing data, click on the delete option and you would be able to delete it. Now here, the beauty of this particular module is that even without having the books data in place for a particular financial year or for a particular month, you would still be able to view your GSTR 2B or 2A data that is available from portal in a detailed out manner. Without having to reconcile it, simply you can view your GSTR 2B data for the complete financial year in one click. If you talk about GSTR 2A 2B reconciliation, there are 3 types of reconciliation supported here: supplier wise reconciliation, month wise reconciliation, and invoice wise reconciliation. Supplier wise reconciliation plays a very important role when we say that, there are clients that there are your clients that or your suppliers who have a different bookkeeping practices versus you have a different bookkeeping practice. So in that case, the tax matching is very important, and if the tax match, if the ITC matches, then you're good to go. So yeah, supplier wise reconciliation plays a very important role there. If you want to view your data by GSTR 2A, simply click on the tab by 2A and you would be able to view your data. Again, annual reconciliation is something that is default supported, but if you want to view multi-month and multi-quarter reconciliations, then that is also available here. Now, there are different types of sorting and filtering options that are available here. Simply, you can filter out the data or sort the data however you want to, or if you want to filter the data, then that also you can do by simply clicking on the filter icon and filtering out the data. Supplier wise basically gives you a data at the supplier level. For each supplier, you would be able to see their taxable value differences, their books tax, their 2B tax or 2A tax, and the tax difference. And reconciliation statuses. Now, there are 4 types of reconciliation statuses that we support here. The first one being matched. Matched are invoices that were there in books as well as in portal, and everything was matching, including the amounts. Those are matched. The second status here is partially matched. These are invoices that were available in the books data as well as in the portal data, but there was some level of amount mismatch that was there. These are partially matched. The third type of status here is in 2B only. These are invoices that were found only on portal and no relevant invoice or no corresponding invoice was found in 2B data. In books only are invoices that were there in books only, and we could not find a relevant match in the portal data. Almost all these options are clickable here. If you click on the supplier name, GSTIN, or the statuses, you would be redirected to the invoice-wise reconciliation of that particular module. Now, to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and start importing the data. As I already mentioned here, if we talk about the import books data, most of the accounting software support the GSTR to government template format. wherein you can export your GSTR2 data or your purchase data in the GSTR2 format that your accounting software provides in an Excel format, and import it here, and your data would get, books data would get reflected here. So I click on the browse option and I select the file and I click on import. As soon as I import, here again, I would be shown a count that says these were the invoices in Excel and these many got imported. If I want to re-import, I can re-import using this option, and clicking on OK would redirect me to the supplier-wise repo screen. And here you would be able to see some level of some number changes or count changes. 7 in matched, 9 in partially matched, 2 and 2B only, and 10 in books only. Now, another type of reconciliation here is month-wise. Clicking on the month-wise option gives you a taxable and tax-wise comparison of your GSTR2A data, 2B data, and books data. Now, the detailed out comparison or the detailed out reconciliation is available in the invoice-wise reconciliation option. Click on this and you would be redirected to the invoice-wise reconciliation view. Now, here the entries in red indicate that there is some level of mismatch here. There are different types of filters also that we support, which include your reconciliation statuses, or if you talk about the filter options, then that option is also available. If you want to view the complete details, then you can click on the view details and you would be able to see the relevant mismatches. If you want to enter some remark here, you can enter the remarks here and simply click on done, and that remark would get saved like this. Here, amendments are also considered with net impact so that you do not have to bother finding out the original invoice and excluding that and including the amended values. So that also gets automatically handled here. Now, for your convenience, you've also got some conflict reports. If you see these two people fighting here, click on these, and you would be able to see the reconciliation conflicts here. There are 3 types of conflicts that are supported here. The first and the foremost very important one is 2A, that are invoices that are in 2A and not in 2B. So here, these are invoices that were available in 2A but not in 2B. Essentially, these are invoices that your supplier either did not file or there was some issue. And if it is after 180 days, then you would not be able to claim your ITC. Then there are RCM conflicts, invoices that were in books and 2A matched, but there was some level of RCM difference here. Those appear in RCM conflicts. Then there is ITC eligibility conflict. These are invoices which have a different ITC eligibility in books versus that in 2B. That gets reflected here. So these are some types of conflicts that we support. Now, one very important feature here is emailing the complete data of the financial year to your client or to yourself, so that you can view as per your convenience in Excel or wherever you want to view it. So for that, you have to click on the email option, and here you have to enter the email address that you want to provide. Click on the email address and simply click on send. As soon as you click on send, you would receive an email that would contain an Excel, which would look something like this, which gives you a supplier-wise view of 2A data, supplier-wise view of your 2B data, invoice-wise view of your GSTR 2A data, where there is a comparison, good comparison of your books and 2A data, where again there is ITC eligibility from GSTR 2B, what is the books period, what is the 2A period, what is the matching status, and if there was any remarks included. The 4th tab here is invoice-wise 2B, which again gives you a comparison of your books and 2B data, and what was the period in GSTR 2A and in 2B, and what is the match status or the reconciliation status. So you get a well formatted Excel where you can simply apply filters and do whatever functions you want to do using. Simply apply filters and you can simply filter out the data as per your convenience. Let's say this. So in that case, here is how you can filter out your data. Now, one very important functionality that we support here is scheduling of your GSTR 2A and 2B emails. Now, this functionality plays a very important role when you have to send out your clients their GSTR 2A data on monthly basis. Now, that again is a very tedious task where you have to, do all that effort manually. So, using this functionality, what you can do is you can schedule your GSTR 2A and 2B emails for your clients so that they receive their data on monthly basis on a particular date. In this case, 15th, where your client would receive an email on the 15th containing their reconciled and GSTR 2B or 2A data so that they can review it, and if they have any inputs, they can share that. To do that, what you have to do is click on configure, and a screen like this appears where you can schedule emails for your relevant GSTINs. And if you want to enable the settings for the new clients that you create, then this option would help you out. This button would help you out. Clicking on this would schedule this email automatically for all the clients that you have created so far, as well as for any new clients that you're going to create. If you want to send that email right away, then you can do that also by clicking on the email option, and that would send out the data to the particular client on the spot. Now, on every 15th of each month, your client would receive an email which would look something like this, where they would have to enter a CAPTCHA. And as soon as they enter the CAPTCHA, they would be shown they would receive an email that would contain their complete reconciled data. So that is how they would receive their complete data. So this was essentially, if you want to access your this functionality, sometime in the later future, then simply click on the profile option, and here there is an option of schedule 2A email, 2A 2B emails, which will redirect you to the same screen. Now, another very important feature of Express GST is the return register. Now, this return register essentially gives you a complete detailed out view of each client or month-wise returns, in the sense that what are the total number of returns, how many of those you filed, and how many of them are pending. So if you click on a particular return, you would be able to see that this is the return that was filed, these are due, and if you want to change the financial year, you can do that. If you want to apply filters for the relevant returns, then that can also be done from the top. Or if you want to filter out a particular data of a particular return of a particular client, then that can be done using the filter options available at the top. So yeah, this is how you view your data. If we talk about the month-wise reconciliation, if we talk about the month-wise return register, then click on the month-wise tab, and here also you would be able to see total number of returns, how many of them were filed, and how many of them are pending, and a detailed out table for return-wise details, where you can see, these are the returns that are due, how many days it is due. If you want to change, or if you click on a different count, then that data would be reflected. It says for February 22, there are 4 returns that are filed, and what are the filing dates and ARN numbers. This data, you do not have to enter anything manually. Everything gets automatically handled by the software. This report is completely automatic, and no manual intervention is needed while creating this report. So yeah. Another very important feature here is call me. Anytime that you're stuck, right? When you have got a question, or there is something that you wish to understand from our customer care exec team. In that case, there is an option available at the top right for call me. Click on this option, and the number of your profile would get auto-populated here. If you click on done, you would receive an email on this particular mobile number from our customer care exec team, wherein they would help you resolve your queries. If you want to change this number also, you can do that by simply deleting the number and entering the new one. Entering done, hitting done would give you a call back on the entered new number. We also support user management here, wherein you can go ahead and invite different users, who you want to collaborate with while filing your GSTR returns, especially in case of articles or other CAs who are working at your firm. Those can be invited using this particular module. Click on the invite user option, enter the name, mobile number, and email address. Click on save. You would get a link. Share that link with the particular user. When they sign up using that link, they would appear as a user here. So with that, we complete the demo for Express GST. Hope it was helpful for you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Saloni, for taking us through Express GST. Just to summarize that what we have covered in Express GST, or what Express GST helps you with, that one is that you can create client masters along with your pending and filed return status. You can check, what is your total status of all clients, how many returns have been filed, how many returns are pending, and all this gets done automatically while using Express GST. The second thing which we have learned here is that if you have 200 clients, if you have 100 clients, and every month we have to send the reconciliation data to our clients. So in this Express GST, you can send and you can schedule and send emails to your clients automatically. That is what we have learned. So your clients will receive emails about reconciliation summary with your email ID and your signature, so that the customers, your clients, also don't get scheduled, that the email is coming through you only. The third is that we have learned that we can upload R1, 3B, 99C directly from the application. The annual reconciliation file can be exported from Express GST if you want to do any working in Excel within Excel. And of course, last but not the least, wherever you are stuck, in case if you need any feature related understanding, or if you are not able to do anything within the application, you can get connected to our customer support. So on every page of Express GST, you would be able to see the call me button. And when you click on that button, you'll be able to connect to our customer care team member. And one of the important announcement for our Hindi participants, that हम लोग हिंदी में भी एक webinar करेंगे 9th April को, same time Saturday 9th April को हिंदी में भी एक webinar करेंगे. And the video of or the recording of this webinar would be available on the KDK YouTube channel. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining the Express GST webinar.